And for a banger tonight, we got my man Dan Trez Omi on. And we're going to deal with Riri, this haterade that's coming her way.
Man.
How we can be empowered by all this. So if you're looking to get empowered, this is the right show. If you're looking to learn why they're upset with, with the IronHeart character, this is the right show. If you want to go geek out on Marvel, I got my man Dan Trez. This is the right show. So let's get on code, man. All right, so
And just an FYI, it is spoiler filled. We're gonna have all kinds of spoilers. So if you haven't seen the show, stop right here, go see the show, and then come back and listen to the rest of this. Just FYI.
Thank you. I was supposed to say that. All right, so I'm a newbie. I love Marvel, make mine Marvel, but to be honest with you, when I went to college, I kind of stopped reading the Marvel comic books. And, I'm an old schooler, so I went to Hampton University back in 86 to 1990. So around 87, I stopped buying comic books.
Gotcha.
I gave my niece my comic book collection, which was about 500 comics, because I was really deep into it at one time. Mm-hmm. So all this new Marvel stuff is blowing my mind. And the first thing I heard when I found out that there was going to be an IronHeart series was people complaining.
Oh, yeah. And just FYI, if you're going to watch the show, it takes place right after Wakanda Forever. So you got to go watch Wakanda Forever. And then it takes place like right after she left Wakanda and got sent back to MIT. So just an FYI. So I know a lot of people were saying that episode 1 was kind of like, what's going on here? It takes place literally right after the events of Wakanda Forever.
Okay. Because it took me until episode 3 to fall in love with it.
Yeah. So again, you gotta watch Wakanda Forever. It goes literally, you watch Wakanda Forever, and when the credits come up, you turn on Riri Williams. It takes place right afterwards. So just a FYI, a lot of people don't know this, and I ain't gonna hold you. It goes to show you how racists are very illogical, because this isn't the first time Riri Williams is under controversy. It's not the first time. So we're gonna go back a little bit. We're gonna talk about this gentleman by the name of Brian Michael Bendis, probably one of the top 25 comic book writers of all time. I will say that. He's in my top 10.
All right, go ahead and teach, bro.
Brian Michael Bendis, he actually worked for Marvel first, and he got married. He adopted a bunch of kids. He adopted a black girl and a girl from Ethiopia. So he was like, I'm creating all these characters. I'm writing all these. He was writing Ultimate Spider-Man. He was writing New Avengers. He did House of M for the X-Men. He was doing all these amazing stories. And he said, I want to make characters that my children can see. So the first character he created was, actually, let me take that back. The first thing he did was, when he did New Avengers, he put Luke Cage in the Avengers, right? Before that, Luke Cage was like a third-tier hero. He put him in the Avengers and actually centered a lot of the story around Luke Cage, right? So that's the first thing he did. No one did that before. Then, while he was writing Ultimate Spider-Man, he created Miles Morales, killed off Peter Parker. That oh my God, that was crazy. It made Fox News. That's how bad it was. It made Fox News. Everybody on Fox News was having a titty attack. They were like, how can you replace Peter Parker? Even though Miles Morales was not in the mainstream Marvel universe, he was in the Ultimate universe. But he created Miles Morales. That was a big stink, all that controversy. Then
Wait. So you said that there's a big universe and a smaller universe?
Not a big or smaller, it's just this multiverse. So they created the Ultimate Marvel line to kind of like bring audiences to a more modernized version of the Avengers. Okay. So they had a more modernized, Captain America. They had a more modernized Peter Parker that kind of like, so he grew up in like the 2000s. So he wasn't somebody that grew up in the 60s. So in that, he introduced Miles Morales. Before he killed off Peter Parker, it made a big deal. Everybody was going crazy. Oh, how you gonna replace Peter? How you gonna replace Peter Parker with a black kid? Then a couple years later, he created Riri Williams, Ironheart, and then there was a storyline where they kind of killed off Tony Stark. They didn't really kill him off. They put him like in a coma, and they made her AI was a Tony Stark AI, and he was kind of like saying, "You're the next Iron Man." and people were not happy about that. They were going nuts. So I'm really shocked that when they released this film, this series, that people were upset because I'm like, we went over this 8 years ago. We were in this territory 8 years ago, where a lot of comic book fans, right wingers, racists were upset that, and then they were saying that she was like the sixth most smartest person in the Marvel universe, right? So and then they introduced. I don't know if you guys watch. Oh my God, I can't believe I forgot her name. Lunetta Lafayette. I don't know if you watched that series. Lunetta Lafayette.
Okay. I thought you were going to say Lululemon. I'm so
Nah, Lunetta Lafayette. No. Lunetta Lafayette. Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. They released that, and people were upset about that because they said she was the third smartest person in the Marvel universe, and they said she was smarter than Tony Stark. So they were upset about that. Yeah. So then Brian Michael Bendis, he leaves Marvel. You know, he's done all these great things. He goes to DC. He creates this character named Naomi, and people were upset because they did a CW show about her. I don't know if you guys watched it. I actually recommend you guys watch Naomi before you watch Ironheart because there's a lot of like parallels, and people.
And it's
were
called
upset.
Naomi.
Naomi, yeah. People were upset about the show because they were saying, why did this brand new character that he create get a TV show, and other characters from DC that we want, white characters, didn't get a TV show? Yeah, so she's a black girl, Naomi McDuffie, and she had her own TV show and everything. It was one season. Yep. So Brian Michael Bendis has always been like the center of controversy, especially when it comes to the races.
Okay. So this isn't new.
Not new.
All right. How did Marvel handle that controversy?
You know what? Shout out to Marvel because they could have easily canceled those comic runs, but they didn't.
Right.
Ironheart is still out today. She was in the Avengers briefly. You know, Miles Morales is a big deal. Right? He's a big deal, right? He's a huge deal, right? Especially when it comes to merchandise and all that. He's a big deal. And he's in a lot of video games and all of that stuff. So Marvel doubled down. They stuck with it. Unfortunately, Miles Morales is not going to be in the MCU. We just heard news about that. But Riri Williams has her own show. The only issue I have with Marvel is that they didn't really promote the show like they should have. And
okay.
I don't think they promoted the show like they should have. We complained about that. And they haven't said they were going to do a season 2 or not.
Okay. All right, I'm getting caught up because I didn't know all the background stuff. Now, one thing that you brought up was Luke Cage. And I was sharing with somebody earlier today that back in the 80s, 79, 78, when I first got into maybe 70, 78, when I first got into comics, one of the first ones that I saw, well, I was in Archie, Jughead, that stuff, Superman, and then I saw the X-Men, and it blew me away.
Yep.
I saw Oro, and Oro's been my prototype ever since, right?
Oro, yeah. And actually, please pick up the new Storm comic by Murawa Ayodele. It is amazing. They actually leveled her up. And the artwork, the story is amazing. She's based in Atlanta now. So highly recommend read the Storm. This is probably the best Storm run that Marvel has ever done, period.
Okay. All right, so then I was reading the X-Men, and then I found Luke Cage. And I was like, Luke Cage and Power Fist. Whoa.
Yes.
And you were right. I do remember that Luke Cage was involved with the Avengers. So I learned about the Avengers. And, of course, mine is not sequential.
Yeah.
That was just my experience with it. And I tell you, man, it was like a Black Power explosion for me because everything that my parents were talking to me about, everything the conscious community was talking to me and teaching me about was being referenced in these magazines.
And just an FYI, I wasn't a fan of Luke Cage from back then because it was like blaxploitation. He had the disco shirt, he had a tiara.
I like disco.
It was like shout out to Brian Michael Bendis. Brian Michael Bendis like modernized him. You know what I'm saying? But and just an FYI, and I'm not faulting them. Back then, he was written by white men. So he was in an organization called Heroes for Hire, and he And what they were heroes that you paid them. You paid them. Like you was
Right,
like, hey,
right. I remember that. I remember that.
You have to pay us to fix whatever we wanted to fix. So back then, he wasn't in the Avengers then. He was someone that was like, I don't mess with the Avengers, which I appreciated. But I did collect Power Man and Iron Fist when he used to team up with Iron Fist, Danny Rand. So yeah.
Yeah. So to me, I saw so much power in these black characters doing big things. And so that's where I see black power.
Yeah.
But now when I'm seeing that Riri is having all this pushback, and we're going to play some of the pushback a little later on, one of the things I want to make sure we talk about is how we deal with this bullshit. Right? But give us some more context, man, because you're giving us the knowledge. You're doing the knowledge guide. Okay. Give us a little more information about, right?
True D. So again, Power Man and Iron Fist, they were heroes for hire. And that's when they introduced Misty Knight, who's actually on the show. If you watch Luke Cage, this is Misty Knight. This is the Daughters of the Sword, all of that stuff. So they got. I really like those. I really like Power Man and Iron Fist. They dealt with martial arts. They dealt with all of that stuff. So I really appreciate it. But what I loved about Luke Cage was that they always put him in Harlem. And I thought that was important because growing up in New York City, the reason why I'm such a Marvel head was because all those streets and all those places were places I was familiar with, but they weren't talking about Harlem. But at least in Luke Cage, he was centered in Harlem. So a lot of the issues they were having in Harlem. And then I shout out to Brian Michael Bendis again, because when he created the New Avengers, the first thing that Captain America asked Luke Cage was like, what you want us to do? He was like, hey, man, we don't be in the hood. We need to be in the hood. So the Avengers will show up in the hood because of Luke Cage. And I thought that was really dope that they did that because before that, the Avengers didn't care about what was going down with the regular folks in the street. So I thought that was crucial. So yeah.
Cool. Hey, yo, Code Keepers, I didn't do it earlier, so let me do it now. We got the good Dan Trez Omi from the Where My Killer Tape At podcast.
Yes, sir.
Right. And right above, I got the good brother Zumbi, Minister Zumi Shawala, the author of Gospel of Afronomics Theology. So later on, Zumbi's going to give us some practical strategies that we can use, because if white supremacy is going to raise its proverbial head, we got to know what to do about it.
I agree.
All right.
I agree.
All right. And it's going to seem weird because to mix this Marvel IronHeart character and the comic and the series with fighting supremacy, it's going to seem like it doesn't make sense. But trust me, Code Keepers, it's going to make sense. Zumbi, you doing good, bro? Okay, Zumbi must still be muted.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
All right, but that's cool. All right, so you're giving us the goods, man. So how is, you mentioned to me earlier that Riri's character is a new character.
Very new character.
Marvel. Right, yeah. Right.
I'm going to say she was created, just like, and Miles Morales is a very new character. He was created about 15 years ago. Riri Williams was created about 9 to 10 years ago. So these are new characters. You know, these are very new characters. And again, Marvel has been in this situation before where there was controversy about who they were replacing. Miles for, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, and even though they weren't replacing them, and then also Riri Williams for Tony Stark. And then we also see in the beginning of the series, we saw the big controversy was when the first line Riri Williams was saying, I grew up and I didn't have the money and the resources that Tony Stark did for him to create all these inventions. And I thought that was very important to note that, Tony Stark, because of his white privilege, because who his father was, he had access to all this technology to create all these inventions. So he had everything that he needed, right? He had the money. He went to MIT was paid for. He had access to technology that was invented before he was born and stuff that was invented after he was born, right? But Riri Williams doesn't have all of that. She's making armor out of cars, old cars. So that separation, that distinction, she makes clear in the first minute of the series, right? So I thought that was really interesting. I thought that was dope.
And that's one of the things that a lot of the hate that I've seen about the series is based on. That she disrespected Tony Stark's, and she started talking about his white privilege, she positioned herself as a victim and all that other, So I'm hoping that we can walk away with some strategies that other people can share when they're faced with this type of stuff, so they know what to say, they know what to do.
And what's amazing, what's wild to me is that we talk about this every Black History Month, right? Every Black History Month, we talk about all the stuff that Black people invented that white people use all the time, right? Don't we? We talk about whether it's the broom, right? Whether it's we talk about cell phone technology, GPS
Right.
technology, all the stuff that Black people invented because we had to, right? All the stuff because we had no choice, and remember that we didn't have access to the same, halls of
Resources.
academia, technology that white people have, and we consistently invent stuff. So Reed Winners is literally the same position, right? Tony Stark is born a billionaire, right? That art technology that he uses for his armor, his father kind of did most of the framework for it, and then he just added on to that, right? And then he had millions of dollars to continue to just keep destroying stuff and making up new stuff, right? Reed Winners doesn't have that privilege, which again is a reflection of Black people in America, right? We consistently invent things, without the access to technology, without even in most cases, a lot of times, a lot inventions were still stolen from our ancestors because we didn't have access to patents, right? We didn't know what to do
Right.
with patents. We couldn't
Right.
go. A Black person couldn't go into the patent office and patent something. So like, even in that situation, we couldn't even do that. So, and I love that she said that statement in the beginning because it's very very true. You know, and then some people will argue, well, he created that armor in the cave. Yeah, he created the armor in the cave, but he used Stark technology, right, to build it. So it wasn't like he just had a bunch of bolts and an old car like Reed Williams did, right? He had Stark technology that was left in the cave, and he used that to build that armor, the Mark I armor.
I'm so glad you said that, because that's another one of the pieces. If Tony Stark, if Tony Stark was able to make that in the cave with nothing, then why is she complaining? And I didn't have a retort for that.
Yeah.
I didn't
Well,
have.
I
So
mean,
you're
look.
saying that
You ready for this? You ready for this?
I'm
In
ready. I'm ready.
Wakanda
I'm ready.
Forever, remember, in Wakanda Forever, the U.S. government stole her technology to use it to find vibranium.
Okay.
Remember that?
Okay.
Remember
Yeah.
that? They stole her technology. There was all this girl from MIT invented it, and
Oh.
they used that to be able to find vibranium. That's how they were able to find that. Atlantis. Remember, that was her
So
technology
you're right.
that
You're
she
right.
built at MIT.
So you're right. It would suit you well to watch Wakanda Forever
Yeah.
and then immediately watch the IronHeart series.
Because if you watch Wakanda Forever, that first line in Ironheart would make sense.
Okay.
She created that
Okay.
technology in a garage. She didn't create technology, access to arc technology, arc reactor, repulsor technology, pin particles, none of that stuff, right? So she didn't have that.
Brother Zumbi, is there a history? And I know you have the answer to this, bro. Is there a history of the supremacists taking our creations and then saying that we didn't create them? Okay, Zumbi still your mic may not have connected because it looks like you're still muted, bro. But so Danny, I know you have the answer. That seems to be what you were just talking about. It seems to look, people would invent things and they weren't able legally to get the patents, so they were stolen. That this is like American history, man.
It is. It is. It just literally what it is. Literally what it is. Automatically. I mean, I think about I go get my checkup at this place called Charles Drew Medical Center, right here in the hood. I go. Who is Charles Drew? Black man who was able to create the technology that was able to give people blood transfusions, for also blood banks, right? We talk
Right.
about Garrett Morgan, who he invented the device that later on became a mask that firefighters use all the time, that we use in the military, right? These are things and no one talks about that. No one talks. Garrett Morgan did that. No one talks about that, right? that he did this technology. And the reason why I learned was because when I was in the military, my instructor was a black man. He had a picture of Garrett Morgan in the classroom. He was like, the reason why I have a picture of Garrett Morgan in the classroom is because he invented the device that later on became the gas mask that we used to fight fires in the Navy. And I was like, oh, snap, I didn't know that. So it's like, if he never said nothing to me, I would have been trained to use this device to save people's lives and didn't know that a black man
never know.
Never know. You know what I'm saying?
And then you talked about Dr. Drew, and Dr. Drew, there was a statue when I was growing up of Dr. Drew in my house. He's a bruh, by the way, so peace to the bruhs. Drew.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't know
he's
that.
a bruh. All right. And so the difficult thing about Dr. Drew is how he died.
Yes. Oh, man.
It's the way he died. So
Man.
he was in an accident. He needed blood, and because they could not get him to the black hospital, the hospital that allowed the Negro to go, he died.
He died, yeah.
And he's the brother that created the process for blood transfusions.
Yep.
Zumbi, is your mic working yet? No, I don't think it's working, man. So, look, what I want to do is play one of the gentlemen's, I'm being nice, one of the responses by one of the possible supremacists, okay? And just get your thoughts on what he's saying after we watch his spoiler review. All right? So let's see if it's going to show. Okay, here we go.
Ended. So here's my spoiler review on the whole show. Before I get into the review, most of the hate you see online regarding the show is forced hate from bigots, racists, and grifters. And I'm happy to see people are starting to call them out because, dude, they're going too far.
Now, this is interesting. Did you hear that part?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. A lot of the hate in this particular brother, Ramos, said that happened before the series even dropped.
Yep.
All right.
That's
so
not the
I
first
wasn't
time
up on it.
They did it for the Marvels. The movie The Marvels, they did the same thing. They did all these bad reviews. They went on Rotten Tomatoes, did all these bad reviews before that movie was released. So just a FYI. They did the same thing to the Marvels. Yep.
Okay.
Plus, being racist in the big 2025 is not cool, man. Now going into the show with actual criticisms, I thought overall the show was pretty okay. To me, the show is a slow burn. The first half of the show was pretty boring in my opinion, but the second half had me locked in. Okay, now on to the positives. I love how they do the IronHeart title for each episode. It's so creative, and I love how IronHeart has these big, bulky, practical suits, and they look so much better than what she had in Wakanda Forever. And the side characters in the show on Riri's side is pretty underrated in my opinion, and I actually like Natalie. She's a pretty fun AI.
Now, the AI Natalie, I thought that was intriguing the way they did that. Now, so I'm starting off with a positive spoiler, a positive review, a positive review, because it goes downhill from here. It goes
And
down.
IronHeart shows she's not trying to replace Tony Stark or be the new Iron Man. She's trying to be her own character, and the only reason she even makes these suits is because of her stepdad Gary, and she wants to protect her family. And the CGI on the suits look really good, and the visuals are top notch. And I love Ironheart's new suit. It combines tech and magic, and Riri made this suit out of a car. And I like Riri a lot more now. She's a flawed character who's reckless and is stuck in this morally gray area. And
all right, that's something that we're going to have to tap into, because a lot of the criticisms that I'm hearing is Marvel finally has a black woman and she's a villain. Way to go, Marvel. That's not black excellence. And it's blowing my mind to hear these supremacists saying this, man.
There's a reason for that, and the reason being is because, all right, I'm a nerd, right? So the last 10 years, a lot of nerds have been predicting a lot of things in Marvel, and they always get it wrong. We always get it wrong. I don't predict because I'm not going to get it right. But one thing that nerds have been saying is that Mephisto was coming. Mephisto was coming, and a lot of nerds finally got right that Mephisto was here. But where does Marvel introduce Mephisto in?
Famous and smartest.
IronHeart. So a lot of nerds are upset because they wanted him to be in, Avengers. They wanted him to be in the next Fantastic Four, but not Ironheart. So that's why a lot of them are mad about that. And we're going to talk about Mephisto in a second.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Good. So let's go to one of the bad reviews.
Okay.
All right.
Here, and we're going to talk about it for same reason that news anchors talk about plane crashes and industrial fires. Halfway in, unsurprisingly, it's not good. And if you're wondering why people would be happy about that, it's because this show, like the recent Snow White, represents the finding out portion of a well-worn adage for Disney, who has pretty much given their fans the middle finger. Let's recap so far. I've got some jokes, some hot takes, and we'll make some predictions about where this all might be going, which, that's my disclaimer. At the end of the video, I'm going to make it official by saying, but I don't know, though.
You can say anything you want with total and complete immunity.
Let's jump straight to what I think is the absolute worst part of this show, by far. Everything else, the goofy-looking 2019 crew, the plot holes, the inconsistencies with information from Wakanda Forever, all of that pales in comparison to the disgusting message that this show seems to be setting up, which is you can be a horrible person, and that's okay, so long as, A, you can blame society in some way, and B, there is something worse that you either fought against or you could have participated in, but you chose not to. At the halfway mark, Riri is an awful human being.
Okay.
I want to address that because...
Please do, bro.
Because Tony Stark, his father made money making weapons that the U.S. government used to oppress people. Like, matter of fact, in Iron Man 2, he addresses it. He's like, damn, I make weapons that kill people, right? All of Tony Stark's villains are either people that his weapons affected directly or former scientists who used to work for Stark Industries, but they did them dirty. Right? So I don't get this. Why are we talking about morality when Tony Stark, a lot of people, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver were villains because his bombs killed their family, killed their whole town. Right? There was a whole town that hated Stark Industries because their weapons killed their whole town. Like, he made weapons that kill people, particularly black and brown people. You know, if you want to go there, you know.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of crazy. He was so articulate in it, though. He was he was so articulate.
For the that Martin Luther King said the greatest purveyor of violence is my government, the U.S. government. Like, he created weapons for the U.S. government. That's how he made his billions of dollars.
Okay. Hey, Zumbi, is your mic working, man? If not, you may have to tap back in, leave and come back. All right. Say something, Zumbi. Nope. Yeah, Zumbi, go ahead and leave and come back in. Let's see if that works. All right, let's hear a little more of this criticism.
She's selfish. She's obsessed with her own fame and legacy and how she can outdo other famous people. She cheats in school nonstop. She steals constantly. She blackmails. She believes she's above everything and everyone. Rules do not apply to her, and she waves away every character defect by using the power of victim mentality.
Do you think Tony Stark would be Tony Stark if he wasn't a billionaire? No shade. That's just the way the world works.
She says whatever she thinks will get the most moral superiority to whoever happens to be standing there.
All right, bro. Any thoughts?
Again, Tony Stark. He built weapons that killed. There's a scene in Scarlet Witch. Is it Scarlet Witch where she goes into her living room and there's a missile in her living room and it says Stark Industries on it. Right? Like, it's like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? And then again, I don't want to, you got Captain America in World War II, he killing people. Captain America is killing people. Winter Soldier, he's killing people. Like, he's throwing people through wind turbines and a shit. Like, we can say whatever we want. And I know there's a group of people that say that the Avengers movies are propaganda, and I agree with them on that. But they all these people make morally, they make morally ambiguous, questionably moral, they question the moral compass of people. They make all these decisions that kill people, but we don't apply that same logic to them, right? Tony Stark.
So why do you think why are they applying this to Riri?
Because she's black. And remember, and then on top of that, remember that she's only 19. right? When I was 19, you couldn't tell me nothing. When I was 21 and I had my son, you couldn't tell me I wasn't a good parent. And let me tell you this right now, 52-year-old Danny will call Child Protective Services on 21-year-old Danny. Let me let you know that right now. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like we act all of us at 19 knew what we was doing. And I'm not making no excuses. It's just that when you're 19, she had all that pressure. She had a lot of stuff she had to figure out. She kept getting in trouble. She kept making bad decisions, right? Like helping people cheat at MIT, right? Which if you ask any black person that's in a field that's predominantly white in college, they will tell you all the wild stuff they white counterparts be doing in college. You know, whether it's engineering, right? Whether it's art, you know, but neither here nor there.
All right, let's get a little more of this feedback.
Riri has an astonishing sense of entitlement, and since the world has not rightfully bowed down to recognize her greatness and throw money and adulation at her feet, she feels perfectly justified in everything she does, especially since she's telling herself that what she's working on will be great and iconic and for the greater good. She is Napoleon. She is Zarathustra, descending to you mortals to impart wisdom. This is the beginning of a villain arc, not a hero's journey. But I have no doubt that she's going to be framed as a hero in the end, and that makes me sick.
All right. I thought that was interesting because I think he thought that he was demeaning the series, but I actually think he was kind of framing it.
But I mean, they don't apply that logic to Daredevil, right? They don't apply that logic to Wolverine, right? These are characters that are consistently like, you know, like just because I have a superpower doesn't mean that I can just they don't apply this to Batman. You know, Batman is the billionaire. You know what I'm saying? Like Batman is a billionaire. He's the reason why people do crime, right? He's the 1%. But what is Bruce Wayne's therapy after his parents are killed by a criminal? He goes out and beats up criminals. Not let me create programs that help people go to college. Let me help, you know, and a lot of Batman's villains also are people who are former Wayne Industries scientists who got done dirty, whose inventions were stolen, right? All these people are, you know, so they don't apply that logic to people like Daredevil or Bruce Wayne or anybody like that. They just say, oh, they're flawed characters and that's their character development. That's what makes them interesting. And I'm like, well, can we apply that to Riri Williams as well? Who's a 19-year-old girl, you know, who's trying to make her way in the world with no resources.
Hey guys.
I think you muted your
I hit the button by accident.
Yeah.
I hit the button by accident. I think Zumbi's trying to get in, but I can't see him. I tell you, bro, some of their feedback is just been laughable.
Yeah.
It's really been laughable. And it shows me that no matter what we do, when we show up and we do excellence, when we show up and we do something that's tantamount to something that they may be doing, it's a problem. It's a problem.
I agree.
It's a problem.
I agree. And you know what? It's a great show. Shout out to Janika Hodge, who was a showrunner for it. She brought back Cree Summer in a very important role, right? The magic part, they brought in Mephisto. They brought Chicago into the MCU. They did a lot of great things that a lot of other shows didn't do. And the writing was amazing. The acting was great. For 6 episodes, they did a great job. I hope Marvel does a season 2. But it's a good show and it's a good character, you know.
All right, let's get one last bit of criticism.
Depending on the scene and which version of this rewritten mess they pulled it from to splice into the final product. Also, she likes this guy, Xavier, and they go on some dates. At the end of episode 3, her actions are causing serious havoc, and she's seeing it. Ooh. What I believe these writers think they're accomplishing here is a Devil Wears Prada situation. Like, oh, poor Riri didn't realize how far things would go until it was too late. Now she doesn't know what to do. She's going to pick herself up and make the right choice. The problem is that in that movie, Andy was naive and spent months slowly sacrificing more and more of her life and personality over to Miranda, and then really, really hurts some people's feelings. Riri, on the other hand, is already a terrible person when she meets Parker, and things get crazy on the very first job when he shoots a security guard. That's nothing to say about the interview where he threatens to kill her in an elevator. She's not naive. She's prideful and egotistical.
All right, yeah, I'm done. He's I'm done with it. I was going to try
Just
to do
an
some other
FYI,
ones, but
and the reason why I know he was whack is because Xavier is not a love potential partner. Xavier is the older brother of Natalie, and I love their dynamic because he's mourning her passing differently than Riri is, you know.
Right.
And we see that happen with the AI. When he introduced to the Natalie AI, how he reacts, which I knew he was gonna react that way. But they don't have like, I love that they have a platonic relationship. It's, you know, old. He's like an older brother, and she's like the younger sister, and she's her only connection to Natalie. So it wasn't like a love interest. It was like more like they're home. They're good friends, and I thought that was really, really dope about that they were platonic and that they were connected to Natalie. And I get it. When she hangs out with, she doesn't really like hanging out with him because hanging out with him reminds her of Natalie, you know? So she's always like pushing him away. It's not like there's no like sexual tension. It's just, damn, when you pull up, but then at the same time, I need you because you're my connection to Natalie, right? And I thought that was really dope how they did that dynamic. Shout out to Chinaka Hodge on that as well.
all right. I thought there was some romantic chemistry there, but I didn't see it fully developed. And Zumbi, is your mic working now, bro? Nah. All right. Well, Zumbi, we'll try again later, bro. Okay, so let's bring this down to our favorite part, which is the Black empowerment piece.
Got you.
All right, so now you got the background. We know what's happening. We know that Marvel put out another great series. It's getting a lot of hate, and a lot of the hate is coming from those white supremacist cliques online.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the hate started before the series even premiered. And then a lot of the hate is saying, hey, Marvel has a Black female character, but she's a villain. She's evil. She steals. She hangs out with thieves. This is not Black excellence. This is a great way to showcase it's really weird to me. And so what I want to do in these last few minutes is your thoughts on how we counter or how we respond to this hate that's being levied upon us.
In two ways. Number one, the series is important, not just because of Riri Williams and her, you know, how she does technology, but also with Cree Summers' character, Madeline Stanton, and the character of her daughter, Zelma Stanton. And what I loved about those two characters is that they're both sorcerers. And they're outside of the school that Doctor Strange went to. So that opens up a whole new thing where there's sorcerers in the MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe, who are not connected to Doctor Strange and they're doing their thing, which opens up to concepts of voodoo, because the voodoo is in Marvel, and they have sorcerers who deal with voodoo, and they discuss that aspect. Shout out to Dr. Voodoo, one of my favorite characters, Mr. Voodoo, and his brother, one of my favorite characters in Marvel, who was at one time the Sorcerer Supreme, right? But so they're gonna open that whole thing up, and I'm glad that Cree Summers in it, because now she's gonna be an important character in the MCU. So that's one thing, because it'll open that whole thing up. And I love that there's like this currently in our community, there's this really like curiosity and investment in ATR, African Traditional Religions, and I think that is so dope, right?
All right, but you really didn't say what we need to do.
No, and that's my point. My point is that now we're going to see more and more people try to learn more about ATR, African Traditional Religions, right?
Okay.
Because we see that opening up in Marvel, and also people are more curious, and people are making those connections. So that's one.
Yeah, because now we saw it in Sinners.
Yes.
Right, and now we're seeing it in the really evangelical Christians are having a hard time right now, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
So we see that happening. And shout out to Marvel, because in August they're coming out with Eyes of Wakanda and Disney Plus. Just an FYI.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the second thing is that what I love about Marvel is that when Riri Williams first came out, they were really pushing this black girls in STEM, right? And they actually, MIT put out a video, Massachusetts of Technology, they put out a video that featured Riri Williams. And I thought that was really dope. And I show it to my students. So for us, we do know in education, we do know that for women, really, there's a lot of scholarship opportunities. There's a lot of internship opportunities for women in STEM, particularly black women. And we need to take advantage of that. And I know that right now under this administration, there's a lot of things that are taken away. But from what I'm hearing from a lot of people in education is we're just going to reword those scholarships. We're going to reword those internship opportunities for black women. So I say to a lot of parents out there, if your daughters have an interest in STEM, this is the time. This is where we do that. This is where we put them in there because there's I know a lot of Riri Williams in our community.
Right.
We need to take advantage of that.
And you know what? I like that if we get more of our daughters involved in STEM and our sons.
Yes.
Yeah. If we get our children involved in STEM, they're going to find themselves in an IronHeart.
Yes.
The same way that I found myself in Luke Cage. And I saw my future wife in Oro or Storm, right?
Oro, yeah.
Right?
Oro,
yeah. Actually, and my girlfriend in Misty Knight.
Yes. There you go. Yep.
Right. So if we make sure that our children are more involved in STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, I actually call it STEAM, science, technology, arts.
Engineering, arts,
engineering,
and
yeah.
Yeah.
My dyslexia kicked in. All right, but my point is that's a good strategy, bro. By doing just that, by making sure that our children are more involved in STEM opportunities, we're actually going to end up supporting Marvel's creation of Ironheart. And
we're making that manifest. Right?
Yeah. All right. What else? Because you said you had two things.
The first one was the Cree Summer ATR, and the second one was STEM opportunities. Right? Those are the opportunities that we can actually take advantage of right now. That's going on right now. So yeah.
All right. You're really a Marvel head. Does Marvel really value and take in consideration the feedback they're getting online and in society when they move forward with their projects?
Yes. If you notice what Marvel does in all their movies and shows, they'll introduce a character, and if the character gets a lot of positive feedback, they'll do a movie or a show. So, for example, Echo was in Hawkeye, right? They got a lot of. Let's rewind. Black Panther was in Captain America: Civil War,
right?
And they did a movie, right? They did a movie off of that, right? So they did Echo in the Hawkeye series. They got a lot of positive feedback. They made the Echo series. Same thing with Riri Williams in Black Panther in Wakanda Forever. They got a lot of feedback, so they'll do a series on that. So yep, that's how they get down.
Interesting. So if we were to flood society with positive affirmations that, hey, we want more of Ironheart. We want a season 2. We love it. There were some challenges and we love the challenges. No, she wasn't painted as the best person in the world, and we're not looking for that. You know, if we're able to support what Marvel has put out on socials, I think you're right. I think that's going to lead to Marvel saying, okay, we're getting enough feedback here, so we know we have an audience that'll consume our product. We have a profitable audience, so we can market this to.
And that's how they work. That's how Disney works. That's like they'll introduce a character in the movie, and if it gives a lot of buzz, sells a lot of merchandise, they'll make it. They'll make video games. They'll make costumes. They'll make, we'll see in Halloween what happens at Halloween if everybody's buying Riri Williams costumes. They're like, hey, we got to do this. That's how they operate. That's how they operate.
Well, so are there figurines and toys and T-shirts in the comic book stores now that have Riri on it?
Yes, they do. And matter of fact, I recommend people go read Eve Ewing's run on Ironheart, which is my favorite one on Ironheart. Really good run. Anything Eve Ewing does is amazing. But anything she does, You can get that run. Her comic book is going on right now. But they sell T-shirts. They sell, you could buy helmets, all that stuff online. But trust me, when Halloween comes around, there's gonna be a lot of young girls dressing up as Riri Williams, and I think that's gonna be dope. So, yep.
I think that's the direction that we need to move in. So now, what do you think? Do we go online and we get into a verbal judo with these?
Not at all. Those dudes have existed forever. They're gonna always be here. Those dudes are gonna always. They don't just do it at Marvel. They do it at DC. They do it at Image. They do it at Doom. They do it on all the IPs. Star Wars. They do it for Star Wars, right? They do. All these dudes show up for all these IPs. They're gonna always be here. But if we show up for ourselves, it don't matter. It don't matter what they say, right? It doesn't matter at all.
Bang. I think that's the banger right there, bro. We got to show up for ourselves.
Yep.
So Riri is part of us.
Yes.
We need to show up for Riri. And in doing so, they're going to give more Riri.
Exactly.
They're going to give more characters that represent us.
Yes.
They're going to give more Miles Morales, more T'Challa. Well, not T'Challa.
But they're setting up
backstory.
They're setting up for that. They're setting up for that.
Okay.
They're setting up. The idea is, and I know this is very capitalistic. It's very capitalistic, right? The idea is his son will be the Black Panther, and when our kids have kids,
right?
The little boy that we saw in Wakanda Forever will be playing T'Challa. He will be playing. So they just They're playing the long game. Yeah, but they know what they're doing. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm a capitalist, so it's all good.
Yeah, so like we'll be taking our grandkids to see that young T'Challa as, the new Black Panther. So
Ashe. All right, Code Keepers, I think we have our marching orders.
Yes,
we
sir.
need to go out and buy some merch. Pick up the comic books like the good brother Dan Trezomi does. Pick up the T-shirts that have Riri on them. I think I want to get a T-shirt, man.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do because I'm not necessarily reading the comics right now. Both of my children are out the house. And you're right, bro. That's a lonely situation.
Yeah, I told you. Yeah.
And I thought I shared with you that was going to be the experience, but I may not have. And now it's even hitting me a little harder. Yeah. So with that being said, peace to the hip-hop fathers out there.
No doubt.
What we call it? Hug life.
Rest in peace, Malcolm Jamal Warner, man. That really hurt me, bro. That really that got me, bro. That got me, man. Rest in peace and condolences to his family and all of that, bro.
And he was 55, right?
He was 54. Yeah.
54.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. But I think those are the marching orders. We need to make. So look, if you value Code Keeper, if you value what Marvel did with IronHeart, go out and pick up some merch. Because, we're here in America, so the almighty dollar is going to make the decision. And if our dollars say that we support this, no matter what the supremacists say, we're going to get our way.
Yes, sir.
Because it all comes down to the dollars anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It comes down to. I was watching a interesting interview with Ray Daniels, and I'm not sure of his pedigree. I know he's been involved in the music industry for a while. Are you familiar with Ray Daniels?
Nah.
He said something that was really interesting. He shared that Jay-Z, Rockefeller, when they were doing sports, or actually as they're doing sports, they were offering only a 5% representation fee.
Oh, wow.
While the norm is 15.
15, yep.
Right.
Yep.
So he said that here's the difference between Diddy and Jay-Z. Diddy was chasing the money, and when he got in trouble, he didn't have the power to protect himself. Jay-Z chased the power, and when he had a challenge, he had the power to protect himself.
Got you.
And so he was saying that as an example, well, most people would have charged the 15% and saying you're leaving money on the table. Jay-Z's strategy was, and I'm not sure how true this is. This is what Ray Daniels said, right? He said Jay-Z's strategy was to get as many as many athletes under his wing, and then he can do a power move on the NBA and on the NFL because he represents so many of them.
Makes sense. It makes sense. It makes sense.
Right.
It makes
So
sense.
Ray Daniels was saying, there's a lot of focus on generational wealth in our community. He was postulating that we need to focus on generational power, finding ways to make ourselves more powerful, and the money will come if you focus on the power based on what Ray Daniel was saying. And so let's focus on the power. And the power is us showing Marvel that we appreciate what they did with this particular project, that we're going to show our support, and then we'll continue to keep getting it. I'm sure of it.
Gotcha. I agree. I agree. I'm gonna sit on that because I don't, it makes sense to do 5% versus 15%, because if I was an athlete, I would be most likely to sign with you.
Right.
And if I get all the top tier athletes, I know we're going off on a tangent. If I get 10% of the top tier athletes, because remember, it's not just contracts, it's also the merchandise they're gonna bring, the tickets that they're gonna sell, the endorsements they're gonna get. That's all influence. That's all influence, and that's leverage. And you can use that leverage later on. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
It made a lot of sense. He in that interview with Ray Daniels, he showed a segment where Jay-Z was talking, and he mentioned, who are the current owners of Apple? The lead owners, the personalities.
Oh, I mean the CEO is what's his name? This is one of my students are gonna get on me. This is part of their assignment. This is part of their quizzes. They need to know who the is it Flask? No, Flask is Amazon. But trying to remember the CEO of Apple, I forgot. But I don't know who the main shareholders are. But
all right, well, he pretty much said something that one of my mentors taught, and my mentor shared with me that Jeff Bezos only owns 10% of what he created, and that he's one of the wealthiest people in the world. All right, you want to correct me?
Well, no, because Jeff Bezos' own was called Amazon Services.
Right.
And they pretty much have a contract with like 90% of the U.S. government and state governments, and they run their websites. That's where he makes all his money from. Amazon.com didn't start making money until the pandemic. They were bleeding out money, but that wasn't where he was making his money from. He was making his money from Amazon Web Services, and they pretty much every website you get on from the government uses that. But we're off of the tangent. That's where he makes his money.
That's some good clarity. But my mentor shared with me that Jeff Bezos only owned 10% of the company that he started. Mm-hmm. And most people, and Jay-Z said in this particular clip that Ray Daniels shared, that most people would look at that and say, that's a punk percentage. You're getting pimped. And he said, but if you own 10% of something that's making trillions, you're in a far better position than owning 100% of something that's not succeeding.
Exactly.
And I thought that was really intriguing. And so Ray Daniels used that as an example of Jay-Z focusing on the power rather than the money.
Yep.
And I thought that was kind of interesting. So it reminded me of the Money, Power, Respect song. Yeah, first you get the money, then you get the power.
Yeah.
Right. Interesting. Even though that, you know what, we're going to have to do a show on hip hop and misogyny.
I'm with it. We're still recording, right? I'm with it. Yeah.
Yeah, we're still recording. Hey, Code Keepers, we love you. We thank you. Oh, you know what? Dan Tress, talk about your podcast, bro.
Where My Killer Tape at is streaming on all platforms. It's not a video joint, so you can listen to it in your car. You listen to it while you're cleaning up or whatever, or you're working. So it's on all streaming platforms. We're actually going to do one on IronHeart as well. So, yep.
All right. So you got to check that out. The Where My Killer Tape. And let me show you what I got going on.
Okay. All right.
Say that they are living paycheck to paycheck.
You will be wealthier.
My wife and I were flipping our first house.
When you shift the way you see things, then your life is going to shift. Money is a tool for what you want. Money is not what you want. You don't want money.
So that goes to show that you don't have faith when you do not take your money and put it into those accounts to earn interest. When you're scared thinking that something is going to happen, God says, who are you trusting in? Because I'm the one that has created the money system.
Well, I then got offered $350 million for my company.
It says you owe about $538,000.
That the individual and the individual family unit is responsible for filling their own cups.
I went from being homeless and living on the street to owning properties in Baltimore.
And that's why I decided to start a bank.
All right, that was a little bit of my hey, what's up? What's up, fam? Oh, was that Ayo?
That's Ayo, yep. That's Ayo, yep.
Whoa.
What's up? Ayo, come back around.
What's up, Ayo, man?
Yo.
Man, it's just so good to watch the babies grow. I can't even call him a baby no more. That's what's up. That's what's up. That's what's up. Code Keepers, check out the Where My Killer Tape podcast. And hey, look, man, we love you. Check out Generational Flip. You can find it on YouTube, or you can find it ad-free at generationalflip.com. That's generationalflip.com. All right.
Peace.